I'm 28 in 3 months. 28. Which means I'm a quarter of the way through, really. Or a third. 30, you're 30 years old, you're really a third. Life is tiring, man. Life is too much at the moment. And I just feel like nothing, you know? I feel like there's not much going on. Except for shit that you think is still existing. But yeah. I'm just sitting down. I just sitting down, feeling like nothing's happening, nothing's changing, nothing's shifting, you know? Maybe it's because I'm sitting down and I'm thinking like nothing's changing and nothing's changing. You know? That's what I'm like. I want to do stuff still, which is fantastic. But there's no point in thinking you can't do. You're gonna do something if you can't physically do it. You know what I mean? If you can't even fucking talk about what the fuck's on your brain, you know what I mean, on your mind, you're in trouble, you know? It's crazy, but it's the truth, and it's not even a dramatization, it's not even dramatic, me saying that, you know? If you can't even say what you're thinking, then you're not really there, are you? You know? You're pretty numb to life. Yeah, I don't know, man. Even just you know what I mean? I believe things and then I don't, and then I like to think that if I believed what I believed was true, and if what I believed was true, you know what I mean? And if I believed what I believed was truth inside my head, then I would chase those thoughts, and I would think about exactly why I think like that, or what the purpose of my reasoning is, or what the purpose of thinking is, or what the purpose of using your voice as the freaking instrument to use your mind. You know what I mean? Your voice is an instrument. It is, mate. It's an instrument of your thoughts. because we're so bloody crazy, and our mouth, it spits out words, spits out freaking thoughts. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways, we need to do this. We need to be able to think. It is the power of our thoughts, man. It always is like that. You know what I mean? We think like that. The power of our thoughts, but we don't think like that. You know what I mean? We don't think like with our thoughts. That's crazy, I know. But if I was to say something, if I was to tell someone how I felt, I wouldn't tell them exactly what I was feeling as well. You know? I wouldn't be happy telling them exactly what I was feeling. Not because I want to upset that person, but because I think what it is that being yourself, it means that your thoughts are as strong as you are, you know? Like your thoughts are only as strong as you are. And you're only as strong as you are. You're only at your strongest you're only as strong as you are when you feel like you're capable enough, like you feel like you're strong in general, you know? Some people feel like they're at their strongest when they need to use their voice, when they feel like they have to say what they're thinking, what's on their mind, and what's going through their head. And sometimes the only way is to talk about these things. But for some people, not everyone, but for some people, it's just okay to be existed. You know what I mean? It's okay to be fine. It's okay to ignore everything that's going on and just zone out, you know? But, like, what's not okay is not feeling like you are being understood in the world. And I don't just mean in a place where you feel at home or comfortable, or in a uncompromising comfort of within yourself, where you feel like your thoughts and your actions are reciprocated by yourself, you know? But I mean more like when you're not being understood by the world, you know? That's not okay. Unfortunately, because we're so perceptive, you would think that you would get more of a general understanding that because we're so perceptive, you would think that because sometimes when you're acting like, when you feel like you have to do certain things that make yourself feel like more sort of exaggerated or more sort of like there in the moment, the things that you have to do to put yourself in a place of vulnerability with people, you think that you get more reception because of our skills to understand, like because of our skills, our common sense, you know what I mean? You could say like common sense, like we're all like hardwired to think like that, you know? But like, I mean, look, we live amongst bad stuff. We live amongst not just bad. What I mean is that where I'm getting to is that we don't just live amongst bad stuff, but we live amongst ourselves, and sometimes we aren't in a great place. You know what I mean? Sometimes because we're creatures of just natural like habit, and just like natural, like, you know, we get up and go, and we like go to work, we clock on, we clock off, we come home, and we eat and we sleep, and we make coffee, we drink this, and we love that, and this is interesting and that is interesting, and we're doing 50 things at once through the day. So what happens, I think, is that we so easily forget about what's going on in the world, you know, in each other's lives, and we forget about each other sometimes. You know what I mean? And like, that is sad. But like, what I think, like, sometimes it is the sadness, it's not sadness that you need. We need to be around each other. We need to be amongst each other for the right reasons. But we live amongst each other, but that's life, isn't it? You know, we live together. We always have, we always will, until we don't anymore, until we live up in Mars, you know what I mean? Until we're flying across the galaxies and we've turned into different people, you know what I mean? But until that time, we work towards our goal. We are constantly on the move, but our thoughts have to drive us. So you can't be constantly moving when you're feeling like upset, and you know, those like crappy emotions that like sort of seem to like get inside your head when you're like having to like make choices and decide for things, and like, you know, decisions and blah 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 and this and that, and you have to do this and you got to do this, and you got to figure out what's going on with yourself, you can figure out what's going on and try and, you know, fix things. Like, you got to fix who you are, or you got to change what's going on in your life, you know what I mean? And like, sometimes life can be such a singular pursuit that we forget about what our purposes are in life, which is really, in the end of the day, to feel like a human fucking being, you know what I mean? And sometimes, I mean, I speak for a lot of people, I think, when I say that some people's lives, they aren't where they want to be. No one has it perfect, although it's easier to say that things are perfect when you're in a position of hatred. You know what I mean? And you're in a place of hate yourself. You know what I mean? So like, I think what I'm saying is like, it's easy to compare. You know, it's easy to compare yourself to other people's actions and other people's lives, and seeing the fucking nitty gritty of what people, you know, like trying to understand why you're lacking in certain areas in life, you know, and why you're not where you want to be, you know, even taking 20 minutes out of your goddamn day to try and make a video about how you're feeling and how you're going can sometimes feel like a hike, you know what I mean? Up fucking Mount Everest, you know? But like, it's important to remember that it's important to remember that you are who you are, you know what I mean? And that the life that we live is so like, it's so special, and we're so like special as human beings, you know, to be like here on planet Earth, you know, and that like once we like disconnect reconnect with what's going on, disconnect from what's going on, right? Personal issues, drama, all that crap. Like, reconnect with ourselves and try and rekindle the flame that we need to help us sort of push on through maybe like a string of maybe crap stuff, like times that we're struggling to handle, you know what I mean? So yeah, and like I think, man, like it's not the best thing to think you're doomed as well, just because you're not happy with where you are at the moment, or you're not happy with your life, you know what I mean? But like, we are living and we should be happy with who we are. But you'd be surprised how many people are thinking the same and like are not happy, you know, like are in bad places right now, you know, and like they're not thinking like they want to be thinking, or they're not being understood, they're not being seen as they want to be seen, you know, and their voice isn't, maybe what they're saying isn't coming across as they want it to be understood, you know what I mean? I know sometimes when I have something to say, I feel like I'm not getting my point across. It's internally frustrating for me because I feel like I'm not actually saying exactly, completely what I'm trying to articulate. You know what I mean? Whether I'm talking to a bird or some fucking grass or like a freaking, you know what I mean, bus stop lady. You know, like you don't know. Whoever you're trying to articulate yourself to, like sometimes you just feel like you're not getting your point across. And like I've come to a park and I've sat down by myself, and even sometimes when I just sit down here and I just look at what's going on, I just feel like I'm disconnected, you know, in my thoughts and in my life. And sometimes it's something like what we need to do for ourselves to connect with ourselves. It's hard to find what we need to do to really connect with who we are as a person. You know what I mean? It's so freaking hard to find that little thing that's inside of us that really connects, you know? That makes the spark, you know? And so like I'm just saying, like finding something that works is so empirically important that it can change your life, you know. But sometimes I think like I wake up and then I have a coffee and then I sit down and I watch some television and you know what I mean, like I just have that sort of like shit, you know what I mean? Like I just think like shit, like I'm just sitting down watching TV and I just think like, damn, like this is like life right now, you know. Like I just sit down, I have you know, I just wake up at 10 a.m. That's what time I'm waking up right now. I'm waking up at 9:30, 10, because my sleep routine is arse right now. I'm not getting myself in bed, and my circadian rhythms, you know, shot. And like I could go down the list of things that I'm struggling with, but I won't. All I'm saying is that sometimes life can just be like a switch, and you can just beep 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 on and off, and it's just the mindset that nothing is going to change in your life. That headspace that you're in where you are like, shit, this isn't going to change. You know what I mean? Nothing is going to change. And this is it from here on out. That fucking mindset. It's that fucking inability to think clearly. Man, it could be yourself or it could be people fucking chasing you. You know what I mean? Like for bullshit that you don't want to handle, you don't want to cope with right now. But like, it is a mindset of, it's a fucking crippling mindset, mate. It is fucking crippling. I tell you what, that fucking headspace that you get in, and I'm sorry that I'm swearing so much, but the headspace that you get yourself into where you feel like you're not capable of doing nothing. You know what I mean? But like, what is wrong with us? Nothing. Inherently, nothing. Nothing is wrong with you. It's just the switch in your mind. It's just stopping us from processing this energy that's in life. You know what I mean? So, like, we gotta, like, transform this fucking way of thinking, you know? We gotta find ways to push the boundaries of our thoughts and get ourselves back into routine and flow and rhythm, right? And find what works in our life. Because, man, without the important things in life, like whatever it is that you like in your life, if it's lacking, you know what I mean? Get there, find what you want to do and do it and really push through. And I swear to God, it's crazy, man. Because sometimes I think like, it's done. I'm done. You know? Sometimes I get there like, it's done. Like, it's done. You know? Fuck. You gotta push through. It's crazy, man. You gotta fucking find what works. You gotta grind that shit until you fucking craft some fucking beautiful stone. You know what I mean? Fuck. You gotta find it, man. We gotta find it. I swear to God. It's coming from deep. Because you know why? Because we are not just here to fucking live. We're here for so much more. And if we lose sight of what makes us human in life, we forget about everything. And it fucking hell, mate. I didn't want to get upset. But, man, you gotta fucking find what works. You know what I mean? Fuck. Yeah, man. See what I mean? Like, just talking sometimes brings it up. Like, just find something that works, you know? Trying to think about things that are important to you, you know? I'm just fucking sat on a bench in a park thinking about how it is so important to think about how life is such a translucent fucking beautiful rainbow that I'm just looking at. You know what I mean? And we push ourselves and we punish ourselves. But we got to find what we're doing, and we got to get our minds back into places where we can manage and control and feel accepted and feel wanted and feel literally in it for why we were fucking made to be here. You know what I mean? Why we were fucking put on this planet Earth. You know? Why? Like, why? And, you know, like, it's important to understand that we are important. We should be important to ourselves, and we need to fucking string the words sometimes together to push through whatever it is we are going through and make the freaking life that we want. I don't know what to say, man. Like, you have to find that, and you have to find that energy that is inside of you, and you have to figure out what it is inside of you and make it work. And I want this to happen, and I want people who have more power or whatever it is, right? Like, you have a means, you know what I mean? And you have a a hobby that you like, a goal that drives you, you know what I mean? Something that you really like, you know? Something that you really like, and try and find a way to do that, you know? Sometimes I mean, like, yeah, like, you just that's sometimes what it is, if you know what I mean. Like, push it, pursue it, and train yourself to obsess over it, you know what I mean. Obsess. If it is obsession that you turn it into, then obsess. If it's if you do it if you want to just do it as a hobby, do it as a hobby, you know what I mean. Make it evolve, be creative, you know, like, what other things, you know, like, if you know, like, develop it, you know, like, innovate it, design it, think about it, dance, motherfucker, play music, think about your thoughts, whatever it is, write, read, take photos, design, create, you know, whatever it is that you want to do. Try and figure out a way to do it, and try and push yourself to live through it. Use that thing that you want to do use it to live, you know, your life. The power of your voice, your speech, right? You stand up and sing, that voice that you got inside your throat, that we push out with our damn heads, to find that freaking thing that we want to do, and do it, you know. Like, you just gotta do it, you know. And I usually don't, like, go out, like, on such a long freaking tangent about how I am right now, but, like, seriously, when you got nothing going on and you just, like, trying to figure out, like, what it is that you're missing, or something, or what it is that is making you happy, you know what I mean, in your life, then, like, find it and make it work, you know what I mean, and push and create it, evolve and create and prosper, you know what I mean, and push yourself, and try and figure out, you know, like, exactly, like, why do I want this? Why is it that I need this right now? Why do I want this? You know, and, like, yeah, I mean, just get out there and do it, you know? Yeah. That was weird. But anyways. Yeah. Alright, man. Oh, hey, man. Yeah, good yourself? That's good. Nice walking your dog.